It's the official merch.
The official merch. We should get
Yeah.
some merch. You know, we do have merch. Penguin's got he's got these sweaters, right? I don't know if they're on the website or not, but they're kicking around somewhere. You were in the night crew, right? You're like an OG night crew member, right?
I was for a while there back in the day. I think I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So
a while.
so maybe you're like maybe you actually have a backlog of stuff. Maybe you can get some night crew merch. You want some night? I'm telling you one thing, okay, about the night crew merch is they got sweaters. Penguins got sweaters, and I said, Penguins, when you get the sweaters, they have to be able to endure Canadian winter. And I went when I went up to the yacht club to Whistler with Stim Citizen and those guys. It was like -20 up there, and there was like we got like 3 feet of snow. It was ridiculous. And I just remember having my night crew sweater, man, and it survived. So merch, we should get some merch.
Well,
Any
I'll tell you,
that,
Night Crew's got a good logo, and so does Ultima. So
that's Archer. You know Archer?
yeah,
Have you seen him before?
yeah.
See him stream once in a while. Actually, I think he's streaming right now. Yeah, he's on Star Trek Online. Yeah, so he did that stuff. Yeah, I think he's from somewhere in Central America. I think it's Colombia. I want to say Colombia. I don't know. I shouldn't say it. Somewhere in Central America. He does a good job. Yeah, he's a fellow aficionado like us in terms of the recreational stuff. Anyways, we're live, so that's that. So how you doing, Tonkai?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's a beautiful day, dude. It's a good day to be alive
Is it a
and
beautiful
enjoying it.
day? You said it was pretty hot earlier.
It's been one of the cooler days for Calgary, so I'm pretty thankful there. It was 16 degrees, but it's been 29 for the past week. So yeah, it's a pretty nice day. I'm thankful for today.
You're thankful for today. Yeah, it was pretty
first
cold
day,
here.
first day I could go outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. They do you have an like do you have air conditioning where you are?
Oh
Where
yeah,
you're at? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of places in Canada I think that don't have air conditioning. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. I remember when I was living up in the north, nobody did. And I don't think anybody has air conditioning here. They sure don't in these apartment buildings, that's for sure.
I'm 90% sure it's actually required for all apartments, condos, um, everybody downtown. I'm pretty sure is required to have air conditioning, like actually required. Like people die. It gets so hot here. Like it's to a degree required. I'm not sure about like residential, like regular properties, but I know all condos actually have to have like an air conditioner unit installed, running at all times. That's something that you have to equate for. Um, yeah, I remember that being a huge thing.
That's
And
crazy. I had no idea it was such a big
well,
deal there.
well, it gets up to 40 sometimes, you
Wow.
know, and
That's crazy.
it's for days. It's not just for like a couple of hours. It's like days. Where even at night it's like 20, 25, and you're sweating to death in your bed. You know, it's bad.
I don't think it's like that in Edmonton though, is it? Does it get like that there?
It's a little bit farther north. It's a little bit better, but it's still not good. It can still get pretty hot. You
Like
know,
I can't imagine Grand Prairie, or maybe I can imagine. Have you ever been up Grand Prairie that way, that far?
only once I
Yeah.
think, and it was a long time ago.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Um, I digress. Tell me about your. I wanted to ask you about your COVID situation because you were working at a grocery store, right?
Hmm.
So, what was that like?
Well, it was interesting. So we actually were of the mindset that nobody is going to get sick. There's no need to worry, and people are just panicking, and everybody needs to calm down. So my boss actually got on the phone with me, and he's like, "You're not getting time off. Nobody's getting time off. You're not coming in wearing masks and scaring customers. Like, no, no, no. Like everything, like." Totally against everything. And people did start coming in wearing masks. I ended up calling my union and I was like, hey, so like I have an immunocompromised brother. I live next to my grandmother. I have a ton of senior citizens that live around me. Like this kind of bothers me. Am I allowed to wear a mask to work? Am I allowed to wear gloves? Like what what's going on here? Because like I explained the whole situation to her, and she's like, whoa, he said what? And even now, like it could have been pretty serious if I had decided to actually like run with it a little bit, because it's like he was totally of the mindset like, no, like you're coming into work, don't wear a mask, don't wear a glove, like don't be scaring customers. Like why are you worried? Like nobody's gonna get sick. That's literally what he said to me over and over and over again. So it was pretty interesting. I was one of like 5 people that was wearing gloves and masks at that grocery store at the time, with like 100 staff working. It was interesting. Um, I ended up going on, I forget what it's called, the leave of absence that they ended up doing, and just taking time off there. And yeah, it was a fun experience. I also do lot cleanups, so that one's been a little bit more of a better job, a little bit more of a consistent job, if you will. It's a little bit more, I guess, risky, because you're picking up cigarette butts, syringes, human feces from time to time, dead animals. So we still have to wear gloves and stuff like that. But at the grocery store, I was a lot more worried. It was an interesting situation, and I don't think Calgary really reacted to it the way I think a lot of places did at first. Now, granted, this was about looking at my dates. Now I think this was like 5 months ago now, 6 months ago. So I mean, it was still pretty early in the COVID season, but yeah, I had a pretty interesting start to my COVID season there. It was definitely a little bit more scary than I think a lot of people took it on, because like I don't know, I don't think anybody really took it seriously here. At least not until like April, maybe June. It took a little while. I want to even say May. I don't know. I guess I kind of skipped a month there, but yeah, it was an interesting time. I'm definitely thankful that I'm doing lot cleanups and just kind of sticking to that. I wear my mask, wear my gloves, and I only really have one point of contact, and that's outside and the vehicle that I drive to work in. So I'm thankful for that. And yeah, it's been pretty good.
How is it now? Like you said, that was back in March or whatever, that the grocery store didn't really take it seriously. But how are they
Mm-hmm.
now? Are they like, did they go back on everything? Are they super concerned about it?
Super good now. So
Yeah.
they have like full plexiglass. Masks are recommended, not yet mandatory. No, actually, I think they are mandatory now as of August 1st. Everybody has to wear masks inside now. Gloves still aren't mandatory. Um, but like there's hand sanitizer everywhere, which I think is great. Um, there's just a lot of different protocols, I think, compared to before. It's night and day. And I really do mean that. Like before, it was like maybe 10% of people cared. And now it's about 90 to 100% of people. Like everybody's worried about it. If you cough in a grocery store, people 3 aisles or over are running.
Yeah,
Like
don't do
it's
that. That's
it's
awful. My
it's
God.
serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's in a much better situation now where people are actually much more aware. I used to see kids in the grocery stores all the time. People were still bringing like their whole families out. Now I never see kids. I see like one kid a day now, if that, um, which is a total night and day change. I used to see, which is a weird number to keep track of, but like I don't know, I remember seeing a lot more kids, even like teenagers. I remember seeing a lot more teenagers out and about now. It's mainly just kind of the middle aged crowd and single moms. The main one that I only see right now is single moms. Yeah,
Because they got to be out there, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Ooh,
yeah.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like some of them might be married, but like you just see the mom. Like
Right.
you're not seeing the daughter and the husband and you know, the, the whole shabam. Like people used to bring out, all 3 kids. Now they just go by themselves, which I think is great.
Well, I think for some families to go out into the public is kind of like an expedition. So I think that they prepare in advance for it and they kind of strategize. Only reason I said this because I saw a woman, I was walking down the street yesterday and I saw a woman like she was just she was with her parents, but her parents they wouldn't leave the vehicle, so she like got out of the vehicle because, and then she had to go and like run and get something, and she was all masked up or whatever. And then I saw her as soon as she left the grocery store and got into the vehicle, like both of her parents just like covered her in like the sanitizer or whatever. Like everyone is like kind of like washing her down a little bit, you know, like.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's some families out there I think that take it pretty seriously. So I think about like a single parent, you know, they don't really have any other options. That's it. Got to survive, hey.
It's true. I've seen people doing like all the way up to their elbows in hand sanitizer and like rinsing every part, like their ears because the masks and just everything. I've seen people going, the absolute full 9 yards, which is great. But you also have to kind of wonder, like, is this good for people's immune systems to do on a regular basis? Like, I don't know. I'm wondering all the different ways of just how this is gonna work out in the end. What precautions did work, which ones didn't, which ones were a waste. Have you seen the little hand sanitizer bottles for like $6, $7, $8?
What?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
You know, I got some at Walmart last week, and I think it was like $4 or $5. It wasn't seven, but yeah, it wasn't cheap. It wasn't like $2 or something.
But it
And
was a
they
fair sized bottle, wasn't it?
um no, it
Oh,
wasn't. It was
okay.
like a travel bottle, you know, maybe like I don't know. It's not very big, almost the size of a like yeah, a pen, I guess. The size of a
Oh,
pen. It's quite small, you know.
okay.
I think. But anyways, it's got that. They have like a heavy methanol smell. Do you notice that? It's not like your regular alcohol. It's like they. It must be like a cheaper distillation they use for it, so it's more methanol heavy or something. Have you noticed that? It's got a strange smell to it.
You know, um, I haven't really. I'll definitely keep I guess, my nose open for that, if you will. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I could
haven't
be
noticed that,
hallucinating it.
especially when you're inhaling it all the time. I've noticed like that. I use a lot of rubbing alcohol just for like as a cleaning solution, and it's funny how it really messes with your senses after a while. It's powerful stuff, man. I'm amazed with how much people use it. Especially like up to their elbows and stuff like that too. I definitely think some people uh, go the extra step, and I think some people, just barely, using a couple of drops, don't go far enough. So it's interesting just how everybody's kind of taking this on. It's interesting times. Where are you living right now, Segellion?
You don't know where I live? Are you serious?
Well, because you moved. Are you in the same city
I
or?
sent you photos of my neighborhood the day that I moved, or the week that I moved. Not the day, but definitely the first couple of days I moved here. I sent you photos of my neighborhood. I was like, "Oh, look at the beautiful mountains and the trees." And I guess you didn't see any of that.
This is
Victor
not the first time I've heard this complaint.
Victoria. I'm in Victoria. Yeah. You know, me and Massacast were the resident Victorians here. There's actually Swift Tropics. Do you know Swift Tropics from Dama
Um,
Rally?
I don't actually.
Okay, he's a Victorian as well. So there's a handful of us here. Crazy people.
Right on.
I can't
Well,
say
I
it's
do like crazy people.
yeah, well that's Canadians, right? Yeah, you are the crazy tonk guy, by the way, so there are expectations there, isn't there?
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. And when people see that I'm actually quite mellow, it kind of surprises people too. They're like, "Come on, where is it?" I'm like, "Where's what?" They're like, "The explosion." I'm like,
Nah,
"Oh, uh, maybe next week." Not feeling it.
you know it's funny? I was typically I would like to say that I also have the same reaction whenever there's an explosion. I tend to like not be phased by it, but I was playing Ultima Online yesterday. I was streaming it and I died and I lost it. And I was just thinking, I never get this worked up about Star Citizen, but like in UO, this 20-year-old game, it gets me right in the feels sometimes, I think.
Well, and they have an actual player inventory, like with consequences, right? Like you probably lost stuff when you died, right?
Well, you know, that's why I start sweating because it's like, okay, I can't be dicking around anymore. I have to be paying attention to what I'm doing now. So I'd like, it's like I'm the pilot on an airplane and I have to make an announcement to the chat. It's like, Please buckle your seatbelts for a second, chat. We're going in for some rough weather. you know, I just have to have this announcement just to be like, okay, I gotta focus, and that's when I gotta run to the healer as quickly as possible, and I gotta dodge all the fireballs being thrown at me and stuff like that, and then get healed, and then run through the dungeon, and then grab my crap before it fades away, and oh man, wait till Star Citizen's like that. I don't know how it's gonna look in Star Citizen, but Star Citizen's gonna be that way too.
Dude, I can't wait for the fireballs. That's gonna be
The
cool.
fire. I think we already have fireballs. I mean, they're like magic missiles. We have missiles. So, and 100 years ago, they would have said they're magical. So that's that. Yeah.
It's funny, man. I had a dream last night, and I'm sure people bullshit about this stuff all the time, but I actually had a dream last night about Star Citizen where it's like the flight model was just perfect.
Yeah.
I was locking on with missiles. I'd watch the missiles literally leave the wings of whatever ship I was on. I think it was in a Buccaneer or something, and they go right to the ship and they blow it right up. And I was like, wow! And it was just this perfect, almost like cinematic in my head. And then I woke up and I was like, fuck! It's still 2020.
Well, wait.
That realization hit.
Can't you do that now? What of that you just described can you not do right now?
You can do that, but there's some desync. You know what I mean? There's some level of disability that I think needs to be worked on. You can do that, but like you can't really do that with players. And I think there's a lot of context missing from the explanation that I just made. Like I, in my dream, was in player versus player combat. You know what I mean? Like that was a seamless. The missiles perfectly glid right to the guy, and you could just it was all like 60 FPS. You know what I mean? I don't even know how to explain it, but you hop in game now and you see the stutters, you see the little just things, and I think that breaks the immersion for me. um I'm not really sure what it is, but well, I guess it's just the current state. We're still waiting for a lot of things to come online, but we're getting there. You are right. I definitely don't want to say you're wrong. You are right. We are getting there. We are getting close. But I don't know, when you have that dream and it's just like that perfect, like almost like a movie. You know what I mean? It's all just flowing perfect and it all just seems unreal. That's the hopes I have for Star Citizen someday, man. And I can see it happening too. It's getting so close, and especially when you play like Arena Commander, when you play Space Marine, you can feel just the smoothness of it and what it is capable of. I remember I watched a little bit of the Theaters of War, and it's like, wow, like, could you imagine if this is what the persistent universe felt like today? Just how different it would be in a year. And it's I don't know, it's been amazing kind of just seeing this project grow like it's a child, and just now today it's got an arm, maybe next week it'll have a leg. It's just kind of been a fun experience. So I don't know, I guess I just kind of want that perfect released experience of a game. And I guess that's kind of why I avoid the PTU as well. I used to be an avid player on the PTU, but now I just kind of avoid it. I'm not sure how you kind of feel about the PTU, or how a lot of people feel about the PTU. Um, but I've kind of gotten to that point where I want to start submitting more of my bug reports on the PU and trying to actually make progression and do stuff tangibly on the PU. And if I can't, well, I just don't play. I don't know. How have you felt about the PTU lately? Have you noticed that it's kind of getting better with stability? It's kind of been hit and miss, I think. Eh?
It's interesting that you bring it up. Actually, I have noticed a difference in PTU over like the past year because it's less exciting. I would say they don't have quite as much content as they had before. And I mean, I understand why they do. Like they want to hide a lot of the content. They don't want it to be leaked out, so they don't release a lot of it in PTU. So a lot of PTU now I feel is just like testing of really low level systems and a lot of network stuff. Some I think it's just all network stuff, to be honest. Like it all like I mean, obviously there's FPS stuff in there that I don't touch any. But it's definitely different than it used to be. It is less exciting. I don't know. You know what though, man? I hope that I just contribute to it. That's all. Because like I played the PT because I feel like I need to. But a lot of the bugs I think are over my head. Like there's just so many bugs involved with desync, And I think that I don't know. I'd love to know the stats on it, but I feel like over 60 or 70% of the bugs are just caused by desync. And it's like, how do I even report bugs for stuff like that? It's tricky. You know what I mean? That's my opinion on it. Does that make any sense?
For sure. And I think that's why they just constantly recommend, guys, just play. Just
Yeah.
press submit report, even if it says nothing.
Yeah.
It's fine if it's blank. Um, you know, I will bring up because I heard you mention that there hasn't been a lot of cool features. I don't know, man. They did have that Idris battle. They did a lot of testing. Yes, granted, it was a lot of desync and a lot of issues, but only PTU testers have gotten to see and fight the Idris in game up until that point. Up until the Invictus week, that was the only time that players got to see the Idris in game. So I think that's kind of a neat little perk. They also tested the server size increases, which I think is kind of neat. Um, that's really the only two things that I can mention. But hopefully,
Recently.
yeah,
Recently. Yeah. But
yeah,
that's what I mean. It's changed. Like a year ago, we were spoiled a lot. We got 3.0, and then we get all of these
yeah.
moons, and then we get Lorville, and then we get the moons, and then and that's every patch. We get all this content, and we just get used to that, right? And then we don't have it anymore, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, you just got to roll with the punches. You just got to get used to it. That's all. Expectation management.
That's true. I think we definitely were spoiled. I agree with that because I mean the amount of things that were coming online back then from 2.6.3 to 3.0, it's insane to try and even make comparisons. I've uh, I've been around for a while, and just even looking back and thinking back to it, it's just like, wow, we have come so far. And for new people that are just coming into the project, and especially for older people in the project, I think there's really just a massive, not only misunderstanding, but just in its own way, a desynchronization of just information, of reliable information for everything. I think that goes from buying ships to where the game is headed, how long this project's going to take. It's kind of an interesting one. When you talk to other backers, oh, how much longer do you think this is going to take? I find it's pretty hit or miss with everybody. I'm of the mindset it's done when it's done. I'm that kind of backer and that kind of supporter where I enjoyed playing 2.6.3. I pledged in 2.6.3 because I enjoyed flying in space. I enjoyed walking into my spaceship and being able to fly around Port Olisar and go to Port Korea and shoot a couple of guns. Like for me, that was the ultimate experience, and that was enough for me to say yes. I want to buy a constellation. Yes, I want to buy this. Yes, I want to buy this. And it's just kind of spiraled since there. Once they started adding planets, and especially once they started talking about the Nova tank, um, I mean, I'm 5 figures in now, thanks to the amazing gray market and just the amount of ships and sales that we've had. And I don't really see myself stopping anytime soon. I think it's a great project. I think it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if you caught some of the tweets. I know I'm kind of bouncing around on topics here, but I'm not sure if you caught the tweets that Montoya was posting the other day about some of his top YouTube comments that he loves
I
reading.
was watching some of them. Yeah. Yeah.
I love the one where it's like, I can't wait for these Star Citizen apologists to start getting arrested for endorsing this scam.
I know. I was worried. I'm like, great. That means I'm gonna get arrested. I'm most likely gonna get arrested. So, damn.
Hey, all I know, man, is I read it beautifully, and I think it was Redler that said it. It might have been Paul, but it was one of those guys, and they were like, "I want to sell next to you."
Yeah. Well, actually, what I wondered as well is like, when does the first wave of tickets for the jail go on sale? When do we start buying the tickets for the jail cell? That's what I wanted to know. Does it
And if you
come
buy War Bonds, you get like a special cell
Yeah.
with like a toilet or
A toilet
no
would be
toilet.
nice. Yeah. Does it come with like digital goodies pack as well? Like I get a jail suit. What do they call those? They have a name for those jail suits?
Jumpsuit.
Jumpsuit, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, those are pretty funny. Do you remember what it was like to be in 2.6? Like think back, go back in time and remember what it was like to be in 2.6. And remember when there was like 15 people on a server maximum. Remember what that used to feel like. And then like remember the fact that you couldn't land on planets back then. Okay, everything was in space. And there was Tessa Bannister. Remember that. And think about the difference between then and now. 2.6 to 310. That's quite a jump. What do you think our next big jump is? If you look back there, if we're in the middle right now, what do you think the next big jump is?
Whoa. Yeah, that hit me pretty hard. Even the 15 player cap, I didn't even remember realize that was a thing. It's funny how much the universe has grown since then. Wow, man. I think the next big one is probably going to be Squadron 42 and just getting capital ships in the PU.
Capital
Um,
ships. That's going to be the next 3.0. It's going to be capital
yeah,
ships. I wonder if
yeah,
that's actually going to be the 4.0. That's going to be the requirement.
might be. It might be. I don't know. I think that's going to be the next hallmark that's really going to set this game into that next level where we're starting to be taken a little bit more seriously. Because even in 2.6.3, the biggest ship back then was like the Starfarer. It was
Well, the caterpillar. What's bigger, a caterpillar or a starfarer?
Starfarer.
Hmm.
Come on, in girth, in length and width.
Not in length. Not definitely not in length. No.
No, okay, not in length. No.
But it's got 3 levels. So there's an internal volume there. We're really getting down to the pedantics on this. We'd have to work some numbers, I think, to be fair.
Okay.
But I have a
Okay.
bias. I have bias on both sides. Never mind. I can't even talk about this subject anymore.
I turned it into an innuendo, so I mean, I didn't even take it seriously from the
I got the
start.
innuendo. No, I got the innuendo. The Starfarer is the fat bottom girl, so I get you. I 100% get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see there was an article on Reddit? Someone made Pornhub categories for ships. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Ah, it was great. Man, who makes this stuff? I love the Star Citizen community.
We have the best community. We do, man. Hands down. Dude, that literally, I saved that straight to my phone. I was like, I'm sending this to all my friends. I even sent it to my friends that don't play Star Citizen, and they laughed. They were like, dude, they're like, it is an addiction. And they're like, yeah, it's pretty much at porn addiction levels. Yeah, pretty much, man. The way you stare at those pictures and the way you salivate from the mouth, I'll tell you.
Well, they just got a way of making ships. That's the problem.
Dude, I'll tell you, man. I can't even compare it to an artist. Like they've posted what, one video and 8 pictures of the Pioneer, and how much money have they made?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, sure, they made the Matthew McConaughey character, which was great and probably cost a couple dollars, but still, I think it's pretty amazing just their ability to market something that isn't even tangibly there yet. It's amazing. How much money have they made off the Penny Merchantman? And that thing is literally just 7 pictures. It's I might be under exaggerating it. They do have brochures, but still, I think it's phenomenal what they have done, for
Did,
sure.
did you post that on Twitter? That image, the Pornhub image. I'm
I
I'm
posted
trying
it
to
in my Discord.
I'm
I
trying to
posted it in
find
my
it now.
Discord.
Can't find it, but man, you said I'm quoting you. Okay.
Okay.
Um, Star Citizen is going to become a game that people won't want to play.
Yes.
Talk a bit more about that.
So I'm sending you that image first,
Send
and
me
then
the
I'll talk.
image.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Hold
I
on.
think people are definitely falling in love with what we have now. The respawn mechanics, the fact that there aren't really any consequences, is something that I think on a day-to-day basis a lot of people just kind of forget and ignore. we don't deal with pirates. We don't deal with NPCs. We don't deal with long lineups. We don't deal with, you know, certain things. We're not limited by having to repay for fuel in our large ships. We don't have to worry about having to rearm our capital ships or having to re-outfit them so that they're in the best scenario for when we're traveling through each part of space. I think there's a lot of things that just are going to hit people in a lot of ways. You know, I've seen a lot of just the complaints and rants on Reddit because they've changed one statistic or one little thing about a loadout on whatever ship. They've changed this you know, weapon set, or they've made these weapons bigger, or they've removed this or whatever, and it causes a lot of people to just be done with a ship. And it's just interesting, you know, a couple of 30Ks can ruin somebody's shipping experience. Well, what's going to happen when you get EMP'd by some guy that just totally takes over and destroys your cargo? You know, I think there's going to be a lot of scenarios, especially, you know, I think those are a lot lesser, and I think those are bad examples. I really want to clarify that. Being put on the spot, I think those are absolutely the bottom of the barrel for examples that I can give. But one thing that I really want to kind of fixate on is especially ship prices and how much fuel prices are going to be. You know, it's not going to be cheap to fly our 890 jumps, and people are already kind of getting a taste of that. But when it really starts digging into your alpha UAC earnings, how much time you have to spend on alpha UAC earnings, it's interesting. And one thing that I've really started to follow is the Elite Dangerous fleet carriers, dev blogs, Reddit posts, just everybody kind of talking about it. And it's been really interesting how there are people that just do not want to touch them. You know, it's even one of those things where people that have so much banked, they are economically breaking. And I think it's going to be really interesting just seeing Star Citizen get to that social dynamic point where, you know, I've had a lot of friends even just tell me, man, this game is boring. You know, like, what do? You fly for an hour and then you get into a combat situation? I want to fight now, you know, and I've had other people where it's like, you know, shit, it kind of sucks that your entire day can be ruined just because there's a pirate out on patrol in your area. And it's kind of interesting just kind of seeing all the different perspectives. And it's really hard for me to kind of sell this game to people. I definitely don't try to market it too much. I will try and mention it to people. You know, I'll show people some trailers, but the biggest thing that I stress is you need to have patience and you need to wait a year or two for this to really become what these trailers are. You know, if you enjoy my streams, if you enjoy, you know, this guy's stream, you know, I actually usually end up linking you, Segellion. I usually end up linking Nerd Show and Tell. I usually end up linking the Daymar Rally guys. I usually end up linking, shoot, I always forget his name, but he's the German guy that I follow on Twitter. He's an awesome guy. Boo Zero.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny. I tell them, I'm like, you know, if you think the gameplay is fun, if you think it's awesome watching your ship, you know, open up its doors and you climbing inside and you looking in third person at your ship and panning around it, like if you enjoy those little aspects and if that's cool to you and you can enjoy a game where you literally just sit around and stare at stars, I'm like totally on board with people getting into this game and starting to spend a half decent amount of money. You know, it's a cool project, it's a great project, and it's one that people, you know, will love. But when I tell people this and when I explain it to people, I usually put in that little disclosure. But remember, it's going to be so much better in a year or two, and it's not going anywhere. So please just put a little pin on the website tab. You know, sign up now so you can get some backer rewards if you are interested. You know, you can get some emails about the game, check out some videos, but don't rush. You know, I constantly tell people this game's going to be around for the next 5-10 years. You know, it might flop, and in which case, no harm, no foul. If you didn't spend any money, no big deal. But you know, I've seen way too many YouTubers. In fact, I used to watch one guy. He was called the Mighty Jingles, and this might bring up some nostalgia for some people watching. But he was a World of Tanks YouTuber, and he ended up getting into Star Citizen, and he invested £1,300 back in 2014.
Hmm.
He ended up buying a bunch of ships. I think he bought a Caterpillar, he bought a fighter, some cargo ship, and whatever. And you know, he's a senior citizen. He's an older guy, and he's like, I just want to play the game. I want my money back. Like this is feeling like a scam. And you know, he's going through all the, you know, like regrets, you know, like why did I spend this much? Why did I buy this ship? Why would I, you know, and it's kind of funny because I remember, you know, watching the Kickstarter video in 2012. You know, if I would have known any better, I would have signed up and been an actual golden ticket member. But I never had the chance because I didn't think twice. Once I found out that the game wasn't released yet, I was like, see ya. You know, I was 15 at the time. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where you really need to invest the amount that you feel comfortable with the game in its current state. You know, if you're okay with the bugs, if you're okay with the game crashes, if you're okay with, you know, only really being able to fly your ship from time to time, great. If you're okay with waiting for Squadron 42, getting a nice $30 discount, $40 discount on Squadron 42, great. If you want a game right now, I can't recommend it to a lot of people. So I think in an extremely long answer, that's how I would kind of describe, you know, what this game is going to become, you know, because it's it's a lot more than I think people. I shouldn't say people because that kind of generalizes too much, but you know, I definitely talk to certain people that are like, oh man, you know, I can't wait to get into these combat scenarios every single day, and it's like, well, not every day. Like, you know, if you die, like there will be consequences. And then I send people Death of a Spaceman, and they're like, whoa, what? Like, is this really the plan? And it's like, yeah, like they want consequences at some point, and it kind of surprises some people. I've met a lot of friends recently, and yeah, it kind of surprises people when they find out, you know, like you could lose stuff, like you can not permanently, you know, especially stuff that you buy, but yeah, like if you upgrade the heck out of a ship and you go and die, like you're gonna be at a financial loss. And it kind of surprised a couple of my friends that I told it to. I mean, I think that's just kind of coming from that, you know, battle royale, you know, free to play aspect that a lot of gamers are kind of getting sucked into nowadays, you know, mobile games, stuff like that, where there are no consequences, you know, not a lot of games have them. And I really hope that Star Citizen sticks with them. You know, I'd love to have the Idris not be able to enter Hurston's orbit, but if you're a really good pilot, you might be able to land on some of the moons, you know, or whatever, right? I think the flight model changes for 3.10 are a great example of just what this game is going to become. And already, I've gotten messages from my friends where they're like, "Shit, I really start hating, or sorry, I'm really starting to hate flying these bigger ships. You know, I'm really hating these bigger ships now." It's funny how people are going back to flying the Cutlass Blacks, the Freelancers. The Constellation is actually getting some love again, which I find kind of interesting. I'm not sure if you've noticed that, Segellion, but
Haven't had a chance yet.
the Segellion flies like a dream. The Segellion flies
Yes,
like
he
a dream.
does. Yes, he does.
The Constellation flies really good now, and I think it's going to be a really appreciated chip, especially as things kind of progress and you know we start to see how much use and how much importance a good pilot really can mean. You know, it's cool. It's stuff that kind of get me. Sorry, it's stuff that kind of gets me excited. Like even now, you know, I'm stumbling over my words. Like I'm excited. This is the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. Where it's like I want this, but you know, it's a little ways away still. And I don't know. I think Squadron 42 is really gonna fix a lot of those cravings that people have. Capital ships. It's funny, I'm kind of jumping around a couple of topics here. I hope that's okay. But yeah, I'll let you talk now, but I think that kind of answers the question.
Nothing special thinks that The Rock is too expensive. What do you think? 55
Sorry?
bucks. 55 bucks for The Rock. Nothing special thinks that it's too expensive. What do you think?
Way too expensive.
Really?
I threw
How
up.
much do you think? What? How much do you think
Yeah,
it should be?
25, 30, 35,
I mean, the golf cart was it
15.
15? 15. This
And
at
those
least
are handed out as referral rewards. So I mean, even less value.
yeah, well, okay, but like this thing could make you a lot of money though, right?
Define a lot. I
I
mean,
don't know.
doesn't it only have 2 SCU?
Yeah, but the commodities themselves are worth more than regular commodities. I don't know. I'm not a miner. Any miners? Damn. Should have tested this.
I'm a miner.
Okay, well,
I'm
you're
I'm
saying
an
the
Orion guy.
well, all
You
right,
know,
but like you're saying the commodities aren't worth it. $55, $100, $110. Is it half as lucrative as a prospector?
um, I wouldn't even call it a quarter.
Wow.
I think the prospectors are just a way better buy. I mean, you've got a quantum drive, you've got engines, you don't have to transport it. It's its own entity. I think it's way overpriced, and the fact that it doesn't come with any special poster, no model, no skin, and I know people will laugh at this answer, but it's why would you buy it? I think this is the ultimate um, vehicle that's kind of going to be one of those, are you pledging to support the game or are you pledging to own stuff? And I think the real uh like for me, for example, I'm buying this vehicle in game. Oh, I will definitely own them. I will definitely use them. I do not think they're useless. I just think as a Canadian, for 55 US dollars, coming close to $80 Canadian, that the ROC is a waste of money for me. That's how I personally see it. And especially when you look at the Grey Cat buggy for 15 USD, 25, maximum 30 Canadian. I can't really equate value in the ROC. Now, if you do want an LTI Cutlass Black, they have an excellent bundle, but yeah, I don't like the ROC.
How's it going on the gray market? Do you know? Have you seen? Is it?
Huge surge.
Yeah. I haven't been keeping track of it at all.
I haven't posted ads in months, and I'm getting random messages from people to this day. Um, it's kind of insane. I'm kind of blown away by just how much the ads have increased in frequency and also just how much the sales have increased in frequency. What's actually really cool, if anybody wants to, they can actually go on to Star Citizen Trades on Reddit and they can see just how many people are making trades, what they're selling, what they're buying, because people post their verification. It's how people keep track. It's how people make it legitimate. And I really do want to stress, not a lot of people know this, but a lot of the traders on the gray market have anywhere from 100 to literally thousands of trades. So for them to scam anybody, whether it be for $1,000, whether it be for $50, they can get in so much trouble, and they have done so many trades up until that point. It's nice that they have this verification system, just to kind of give a little bit of justification to the gray market, because I know there's a lot of just controversy and hatred and talks about the gray market. I think it's good that people like me who genuinely have an interest at selling at cost are on the gray market. I have sold 4 890 jumps all at cost. I have sold 2 Endeavor master sets at cost. Why? People want them and people have the money. I think it's great that I can support the project. I've got a golden F8 Lightning because of it. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. I've definitely seen quite a surge though. I mean, again, I'll bring up, I haven't posted an ad in like 2 months, and I'm literally still getting random messages all the time. every 2-3 days, I'll get a message. Hey, do you have an LTI 890 jump? Hey, do you have an Orion upgrade? Hey, do you have a Valkyrie upgrade? And it's like, I don't have active ads. It's amazing. I'm kind of blown away by just how much the gray market has taken off. If somebody really wanted to get to concierge levels and they have a lot of buybacks, it's kind of crazy because of COVID. It's really become a good time for a lot of people. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I was talking with because my mom watches this podcast, right? So she was watching and she was like, "Why don't you sell ships?" I'm like, next question. Yeah. So complicated though, you know? I mean, it's not even just the devices around buying and selling. Like you're kind of putting your account at risk, I feel. You know, you have to maybe just be a little bit more careful about that. Makes me nervous.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that you have a good invoice system.
Yeah.
I think it's really good that you have like a format of just how you word your invoices. You're very specific that this is an online digital good, that you are using 90%, if not more, 100% in most cases. For me, it's over budget, because sometimes I actually chip into my costs so that I can sell things and guarantee a sale. It's kind of funny. I put in the disclaimer, like, I am using the funds from this payment to pay for this item on the digital store. If this person wants a refund, I have to take 950 US dollars out of my pocket and send this back to them. Like, there are no refunds. I have receipts to prove that this person is receiving this item. Like, I think it's really good to cross your I's, dot your T's, do it all, or cross your T's, dot your I's. But it's definitely a scary one. You read every now and again about don't accept any trades from this person. They're a known scam artist. This person just tried selling an Idris M below $1,000. Watch out for this scam. There are some people that definitely try and take advantage of it. And I think it's really good just to have good policies. As a trader myself, I can also make sure that I only do business with other people that have made trades. I can make sure that I only do business with people that have a certain threshold. They're verified on PayPal, they're verified on Reddit, they're verified on the Star Citizen Trades Reddit page specifically. They've done X amount of sales. You go through their post history, you see what kind of person they are, what kind of things they say, how they reply to people. You can kind of protect yourself just by spending a little bit of time. And especially with all my 890 jump sales, I usually go through people's history. And if they don't have any history, I usually don't even reply to people. Because there are some fishy ass people.
Oh, heck
If
yeah.
you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
they have an opportunity, especially, some people will just do it based off of opportunity. So I think it's good that people know, just that there are risks, but there are also ways to protect yourselves. And a lot of the people that get scammed, I hate to say this, but they're the same kind of people that get a phone call that, give us your social insurance number, give us your bank information. I feel like those are the same kind of people. And I think that's a little degrading. But at the same time, I've only known one person that's been scammed like this. And sadly, the lighting was like, you could see the writing in, you know what I mean? Like, I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
He should have been able to, like, to put it very lightly, just based off of what the person did for a career, it made you question them. And I won't go into that because I definitely don't want to give away specifically who it is or anything like that, because that's their own business and whatever. And I definitely don't want to slut shame either or do anything like that. But you can tell by certain things in the way, like, send the item before I pay you. Certain things just shouldn't be done. And that's what the person did. And it's like, but I got scammed. And it's like, of course you did.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say that to the people, and it really upsets them, but it's like, well, yeah, you never send the item before getting your payment. And in fact, that person didn't even want to go through an invoice, which is even more fishy. So, I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways to just kind of prevent yourself from being scammed. And it's good to just kind of bring that up and just kind of bring awareness to that. I know I'm kind of going a ramble about it, but I've been very lucky and very fortunate. I've probably done close to 50 to 100 trades now. No issues. None. Not one. So I'm very lucky.
That's good. Um, you, you want to know something funny? Is that over the past 3 days they've made about $883,000. How much of that do you think was the Pico, and how much do you think was at the Rock? Honest
um,
question. That is a question.
so the Pico was definitely a lot higher than the Rock, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
I know I bought a Pico. Did you buy a
I
Pico?
got a Pico.
Damn right you
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Damn right you
Is
did.
there anything wrong with a grown adult having a plush toy? Is there anything wrong with that? Is that okay?
Dude, I've been addicted to Maneater lately. It's a game where you play as a shark. I'm not sure if you ever played Jaws Unleashed back
No.
in like 2004. It was a spin-off of the movie Jaws, and they made Jaws the Revenge, and
I
then
love Jaws.
eventually
What a great
I
movie.
I hate it. It gave me nightmares for years.
Oh yeah.
Um but that's another story.
That's another story.
But Maneater is a brand new game that they just came out with. It's a completely open world shark PG, so it's a shark role playing game.
Why not?
um,
It's 2020.
right? I literally was at the grocery store a few months ago, and I saw a little plushy great white shark, and I was like, God damn it! God damn it! I'm doing it.
And you did it.
I bought it.
Yeah.
I had to. It's funny, man, but like, if it's well made, and it's something where like you keep the tags on it, you keep good care of it, you put it on a counter, and it's something that you appreciate. I think that's the important part, right? That Pico, I think is going to mean so much to people 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now, compared to a hat or a t-shirt. It's amazing just what people have done with that in game. How people have started to use those in their ships, how people have started to carry those around every time they log out, and scatter them around all the different lobbies and stuff like that. I think it's great that it's been embraced like that. And trust me, if they went this way with all the items that they put in game and did a ton of merchandise like this, if they did this on the profit margin basis, especially, where I know they're making money off these Picos,
Oh yeah. Oh
there's
yeah.
no way that they're not.
Yeah.
Especially the hats, and the t-shirts. I guess they're making a pretty good killing on, because like, I guess there's like manufacturing cost stickers that they leave on, and I guess the hats cost like $3-4 each or
That's
something
good.
like that. It's not bad.
Yeah.
It kind of bothers me though when there's like $14 in shipping, and then the
Yeah.
hat's like $18.
Well, that could be a Canadian problem too, you know.
True, and I will concede to that notion. I think that's an excellent point, and I will backtrack a little bit there.
Well, it's like Shopify, right? All I have to deal with is shipping, and it's a nightmare. I mean, even to ship my pens, it costs, or my pins, it's over $20 just for that. So
Whoa, what? For a
I'm
pin?
sorry, it depends, but between $15 and $20 to ship them.
Have,
In Canada, it's cheaper to ship it to Europe than it is to ship it into Toronto. Yeah,
wow.
because Canada, we know how to do courier.
Have you thought about just driving it to the person?
Yeah, I know, right?
Right?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I want to ask.
Crazy.
I want to ask you a bit more about the fleet movers. You said, is it Elite
Yeah.
Dangerous? The fleet movers, is that right?
Yeah.
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 So you said that the operational cost with those fleet movers kind of breaks the game or breaks their existence in the game. Is that? Tell me a bit more about that.
So And granted, you have to understand, because I don't actually play the game, I'm mainly getting most of this information from like scrambled Reddit posts and like 255 character limit Twitter posts that people are making. But from the general gist of it, and without putting any actual numbers out there, it's somewhere in the high multi-millions that it costs to not only fuel, but to teleport these ships. They are meant for single players to have like massive mining operations, which, if you're not into mining, nobody really wants them anyways. And they're almost at a point where you have to play 6 hours a day, roughly. Generally depends on what you're doing, what your income is, what ships you own, etc., to actually pay for these things to be in existence. On top of that, you can't take any time off while you own these ships. If you do, that eats into your, money making potential of these things. And I think it's somewhere, if you buy one of these or rent one of these fleet carriers for a month, and if you take 2 weeks off, you'll never recoup your losses.
Wow. And
Or
what?
2 weeks off, sorry.
So the ship is just permanently gone at that point, or
No,
inaccessible?
no. So from my understanding, it's a rental. So you get it for a month, and then at the end of the month, they pretty much just say, hey, so like we're putting your ships back in your hangar. You can renew your lease. Then we won't put your ships back in your hangar, kind of deal. But the big I guess the big reason that people want to own these is because you can teleport your entire fleet from one sector to another, whereas I guess your home base is in a fixed location. And I guess it's just not really worth it. And especially from like what I've been reading, and just, what I'm kind of understanding from it all, you can't really fly to them or get attacked in them or like use them for combat or really do anything with them except for store your ships. So I even was kind of interested in them because the trailers looked really cool. I was like, wow, like this must be awesome to see on a regular
I
basis.
saw the trailer too. I did. That's
Yeah.
why I asked.
And I was like, this is actually really cool. Like I bet this would be awesome to invest a bunch of time into. And I guess it's not that big of a deal like it should be. I don't know. I guess I'm spoiled by Star Citizen's Fleet Week, where they literally had the Javelin coming and parking in a spaceport, where you could literally crash into it and get into a fight with it. I guess we're spoiled by that now. But yeah, it kind of bummed me out because I definitely get into Elite Dangerous. It's an interesting game. I think it's got a good concept. They've got cool, unique ships and a lot of different careers. But I don't know. I really don't want to be on that constant grind, making money just to earn the privilege of owning a ship so that I can earn more money. Like
I think I think
it's the
Star
concept
Citizen
of spending money,
I
to
think it'll
make
be
money.
like that though. I think that's how Star Citizen will be in the future.
Hopefully not like with our Idrises and stuff
Yo,
that we've bought.
I mean,
But
I think everybody is saying that right now though. It's like to the people who don't have capital ships, they're like, "Oh, why do you have a capital ship? Because it's going to cost you an arm and a leg."
yeah, yeah. I mean, look at the 890 jump. I've already
Yeah.
seen the in-game chat messages where it's like you can earn the 890 jump in game, but how does CIG expect us to earn 32 million UEC with all these 30Ks in crashes?
Yeah. And then it
And
costs 100,000 credits to fill up, which I've done, not happily. Yeah. Well, and then like I wonder if that's the case. It costs so much to operate or keep these ships, and everyone's got a million Idrises. If there's going to be boneyards in the future, if there's going to be like places where the ships are just parked because people can't afford to fly them.
yeah, like RV trailer parks of
Well,
Idrises and shit. Yeah,
yeah. Well, the boneyards in like Nevada and New Mexico where they store the airplanes that are retired. Ever heard of
yeah,
that? Yeah, that's
yeah,
what I imagine. Oh, it could be like an RV park too. That sounds pretty good.
yeah. Mine sounds a little bit more higher class.
Yep, you're right. That's true. hope there's a trailer park in the future. That'd be sweet.
I will add in though, the big issue with the fleet carriers is that you buy them. I think they're like, and again, throwing random figures, don't play the game. Something like in the 100 million credit range, and then to refuel them, it's like in the 23 million credit range, and you have to spend that like every time you jump. And like a good mining run, you make like 1 to 3, 1 to 5 million, I guess. Like it sounds like the economy is made in a way that just doesn't encourage playing them, doesn't encourage using them. I'm kind of hoping like with the Idris, if we fill up a tank of gas in an Idris that I own, I'm not worried about in 6 months, oh, now the gas is expired, or whatever, my lease is expired and now I have to go and do whatever again. I'm thankful that we have that lifetime insurance stamp, that hopefully that means something someday, where if I don't log on for a year, I've still got an Idris in dry dock that I can pull out. I hope it's different in that way. I definitely kind of want to make that, you know, hopeful, wishful conjecture. But I think they just really implemented them the wrong way in Elite Dangerous. I think that's the polite way that I'll word it. Room for improvement, if you will, Segellion.
I mean,
That's
that's
the way
kind
I'll
of
word it.
it's kind of what Star Citizen I think is working on right now. Like the whole quanta and quantum trade system that might be coming online in 3.11. We don't know.
Hmm.
We got the cargo deck, so that could be the thing. But like you see how much work goes into the trade system, and like think of the amount of fidelity that they're incorporating into the trade system, where it's like the amount you mine equals how much these commodities are going to be valued at on trade. And it's like to think Elite Dangerous went through that much trouble, I doubt it.
True. Yeah, I can't imagine that they put in the same, level of effort, thought. It's kind of amazing how even the community does a lot of work. It's kind of amazing just seeing all the different forums and Reddit posts and websites and literal websites that community members make. I'm not sure if you can name any of these, like this uh, Lorak. I can never say his name, but he did the fleet managing website.
Yeah.
The guys, the Gala logs that did all the trade routes,
Yeah.
the FPS manager that tells you how much damage all your weapons do on whatever loadout. I think it's absolutely amazing how much work that actually does for CIG. Like I'm not sure if I'm actually sure they kind of understand that, because CIG staff can literally click on those at any time and use those.
They
They're
probably
an
do.
open. They do.
Yeah.
They've talked about it all the time. Even Reddit. They take everything with a grain of salt, but they do use that feedback, negative and positive, to help build the game. If people want, this feature, and people are talking about it all the time, it's gonna get brought up at a meeting. It's gonna be discussed. That's how CIG works, and I think it's a great way to make money. The Pioneer, guaranteed that was, community feedback just kind of spiraling, where it's like, I'd love to own my own base, and they're like, oh yeah, we can do something. We can figure out something. And next thing you knew, they had a $750 ship to sell and land claims. And I don't know. I think it's an amazing project where they have so much freedom. It's kind of like Second Life, or
Hopefully.
literally a Second Life, literal form, and talking about the video game. I think it's kind of crazy just where they can go with these avenues. They could literally have player made, bases and hotels and outposts that people can visit and explore, and have unique little canyons or places that they have called their own, and landmarked out on certain planets. I think it's kind of neat. I was watching that one video that you did just a couple of podcasts ago with that one guy. You guys were talking about Star Wars Galaxies,
Oh
how
yeah, Griffin.
Griffin, yeah.
We were getting a little emotional with the Star Wars galaxies.
Do you know how badly I would pay so much money right now to just have a half-assed home on Naboo
Yeah.
in a virtual server? Like, dude, that literally, I was sitting there like, shut the fuck up. Like, please bring this game back. Like, shut up. You
Have
had
you
a home on Naboo? Like,
have you seen screenshots from Star Wars Galaxies?
I don't even want to see them. I don't even want to look them up. Dude, I've seen a couple pictures and I know they're pixelated and I know they look bad and people would probably call me crazy, but that would literally tug at my heartstrings so much. I don't think I want to put myself through it. It's kind of like looking at pictures of something that you could have, because I could have played Star Wars Galaxies. I had a computer around that time. I could have been playing it, but I just thought it was one of those like scam MOBA games where it's like play the Star Wars universe. I'm like, yeah, right. I click on this, they ask for my credit card information, and it's a scam, isn't it? I literally thought it was fake, dude. I literally thought it was fake.
Yeah.
Did not think it was a real game. I'm not kidding. For years, and you have to remember too, like I was born in 1997.
I know.
So
Yeah.
I'm young, man. Like,
Okay, so that makes me think of another point is that you said before that you feel kind of bad because you're born too late or you're born too early.
Mhm.
Um, I just wanted to know that like if you have a kid, if you were to have a kid right now, do you think that they'll grow up not having same cultures that like my generation had? So like in the case of Battlestar Galactica, because you just watched Battlestar Galactica, so like, is that over with now? Like, aside from rebooting, like, will they just in 30, 40 years, will they just go back and watch Battlestar Galactica, or do you think that, generations they just change over time and they find different media is interesting?
Hmm. I think that's kind of an interesting question. I think that's a really good question, Segellion. Um, Damn. I have a 10-year-old brother, and I think it's kind of been interesting just growing up with him in the same house, literally, watching him become a person. And I think it's kind of interesting just asking that. I
Yeah.
never thought, right? Like, because that's an interesting question, man. Because like, I don't know if he'll ever watch Firefly. I don't know if he'll ever watch like. I'm trying to think of that. What, Space Odyssey, 2001 or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like all these different classic movies. The only way he would really see them is if somebody like me exposes them to him,
They
or like
wouldn't get it either, by the way. 2001 is a great example. You should see if you can get your 10-year-old brother to watch 2001 because I bet they won't get it. Like, I just don't think their brains could comprehend it. It's not like there's a lot there. In fact, it's devoid of content, really. And it's like the thing about 2001 is like we didn't get the content served to us in a silver platter. We had to make it with our own brains. We had to do assumptions, which they don't really have in movies anymore. So that's an interesting experiment if you were to try that.
wow, yeah, like a great one for me, man, is do you remember Planet of the Apes?
Oh
Like the
yeah, for
like the
sure.
original
The OG,
originals?
yeah, man. I love Charlton Heston. My fan. I'm his biggest fan. Not actually.
Well, this is a perfect example. So those gave my mother nightmares. When those movies came out, they were so surreal,
They're
and they
good.
were, well, hold on. I'm glad you made that comment
They're
though,
good.
but hold on. Hold on. Wait until you hear the 97-year-old kid's
Okay.
point of view. It scared the shit out of her. She literally described it as like a horror film. It was like this surreal experience where it's like that could happen. Like that could actually happen. Like it scared her to a point where it's like this is a documentary. And I was like, whoa, like I have to watch this now. So I watched it. And I'll be honest, I thought it was one of the most cheesy things I've ever watched, man. The only real good scenes that I thought were impactful to me was the walking on the beach scene, where he sees the I'm Canadian. I never.
Statue of Liberty.
Thank you.
Yep.
Where he sees the Statue of Liberty and he clicks, and when they take off and they go out into space and the whole journey starts. I thought those were two really good, super good scenes. You know, I thought it was great. You know, I'm talking about the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie, but all in the middle part, I was like, this is this is kind of cheesy. Like, I kind of thought it was almost like a. If it was made today, I would kind of call it like a parody movie,
Yeah.
or like I'm not kidding, man.
Yeah.
Like the graphics, the way the masks look, like it, you can tell they're people in costumes.
Oh, for sure. Did you find it really slow? Do you find like that's what made it a parody, the fact that it was so slow?
Actually, it wasn't the pacing. I actually found it was the wording, the dialogue. I felt it just felt aged.
Yeah.
It didn't feel modern. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's what they did with Star Wars. It's like when they had the originals, they came out. They were designed for a specific generation. And then the prequels came out; those were designed for a specific generation. And then the new ones come out, and they're designed for a new generation. Like every 20 to 30 years, you just reboot the franchise so it's still relevant. And I found it interesting. I actually saw I saw the last movies with a group of kids because I saw it with family, and just to see how they liked it or appreciated it, or how they responded to it. So, it's interesting.
And did they? Or I'm curious too. Actually.
Yeah, they all like it. Just a regular movie for them. Where I'm like, oh, it's so terrible because Palpatine's not supposed to be here, you know.
Yes.
But they're just like, oh, the space wizard was great. Okay. Okay. You know.
I relate, and I feel that so hard. I really do.
Well, we have attachments. That's the thing. I'm attached to my childhood, and my childhood extended from the original Star Wars movies, so I don't mess with them. And that could carry over to Star Citizen as well, because this is Wing Commander, and we have expectations, right?
Right. I definitely want to mention. I think the best Star Wars movie is number one. My favorite.
The Phantom Menace.
Yeah. My favorite movies are literally number 1, number 2, number 4, number 5, number 6.
Because of your generation, in that order. Though. Like the prequels are designed, I think, for people of your age.
100%.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah, I agree with that. Talking with anybody my age, man.
Yeah.
Exact same opinion. They love the prequels.
Yeah. Yeah, like the same. I had a guy I used to live with. I used to live in an apartment complex with like 3 of the people, and one was probably your age. He was quite young, but he always went on about the prequels and how great they were, and he was serious about liking Jar Jar. And I'm like, what? Stop talking! I felt like the old man just bickering at this young kid. It's like, oh, you don't know anything, Jar Jar. And he's like, oh, he was the comic relief. And I'm like, I guess.
He was?
Yeah, that's just different strokes for different folks. That's what they say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I've called Jar Jar the exact same thing multiple times. Yeah, it's true, man. Whereas, looking back to I guess you call them the sequels, which is funny because they came out first. They didn't really have anything like that. Like, it was a very serious, very strong movie, and I think the only real, I think relation's a bad word, but the only real, I think sympathy is a bad word for it too. I'm struggling to find a word, but the only real, I guess, compassion or comic relief, or however you want to describe it, that you get from any of the characters is really from Luke, where you feel for him because his father's Darth Vader. He loses his hand. You're trying to find different things to connect to care for, to have compassion for, and I think in the prequels they just had a totally different mindset and tone. It's really funny because 4, 5, and 6, you're looking at Princess Leia, you're looking at Luke, you're looking at R2, C-3PO. Han Solo is kind of that gritty tough guy, and you've got Chewbacca to kind of just bring that. I guess Chewbacca is kind of the, gosh, people are gonna hate me for this, but Chewbacca is the Jar Jar Binks that worked.
No, I think it's C-3PO actually.
But he's in 1, 2, and 3 though, so that doesn't.
What do you mean?
He's
C-3PO?
yeah, he's in them.
He was a
He's in.
different character. That he was a very passive character in the prequels. Like
Yeah,
here's the thing, when like they replaced C-3PO with Jar Jar, they were like, because in the first movie it was mostly Jar Jar. C-3PO wasn't in there, but then the second and third, and then Jar Jar got pulled and C-3PO came in.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. You know, it's it's funny though to actually think about just how they, made these characters. Jar Jar was just polarizing to say the least for so many people.
Yeah, I was pretty confused when I remember seeing him for the first time. I remember seeing that in the theaters in 1999. And yeah, Jar Jar, I was like, huh. Like, I just remember saying that to myself, be like, huh.
That's a great reaction.
Well, there was a lot to take in. We were all having lightsaber battles in the parking lot afterwards because there was no fast-paced lightsabers. Episode 1 was the first fast-paced lightsaber. Before that, it was just a little fencing, French-style fencing. But then we get Darth Maul in there with his spinnies and all this stuff, and then we're like, wow, we want to do that. This kung fu-style sword fighting, and that's what we were doing in the parking lots. Who cares about Jar Jar?
Whoa, see, now that's interesting because, like, me watching that as a kid, like, it didn't really phase me. Like, I had seen so many things. I don't want to say like that, but like, oh, cool, a double A, double bladed lightsaber. Like, it didn't, like, nothing really hit me. I guess I was 6. I wasn't very old when I started watching those movies, 5, 6, 7 years old, but it never really phased me. It's kind of funny how none of that stuff really, had that big of an impact. I think they were just really cool films. Yeah, it's funny how impactful that was for you. I think that's actually kind of an interesting little Timbit, which only us Canadians would
Timbit?
understand. Yeah.
I think it's
Have you ever used that expression? Tell me
no
you've used that.
tidbit. That's how I
But we're
say, not
but we're
Timbit.
but we're Canadians, so
I
you got to say
know,
Tim. But you got to say Timbit.
but I don't support Tim Hortons. I think they're an evil corporation because I worked for them before, so I have biases, I guess. I I think it's funny though that your grandmother thought that Planet of the Apes was terrifying.
My mom.
Your
My mom.
mom, sorry, rather, yeah. I mean, they're rightfully so. I mean, Planet of the Apes could be a very real thing. I don't know if, like, how often or how much you dial into the whole UFO conspiracy stuff, but they think that the we're just like evolution advanced primates, right? Like there was something that was imposed to us several thousand years ago, and they just like bootloaded up this primate species. So that could have been the people within Planet of the Apes. They could have been what UFOs are to us today. So I mean, it's a very valid thing to be afraid of because it questions our own existence. If you draw those things
Yeah,
together, is that kind of what she was afraid of? Do you think?
possibly.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of it's an interesting topic because, especially on the topic of questioning your own existence, when you think about just the pyramids, how those were the largest man-made structures for literally thousands of years. When you think about, just how every civilization has drawn some sort of flying saucer or some sort of alien creature coming from the stars. It's kind of crazy how it all kind of relates, and just how we can all just kind of relate to that one thing that might be out there that we're all kind of looking past the clouds for. I don't know. It's crazy thing.
Those Egyptians, they drew planet number 9 too, by the way, in all of their maps of the solar system. They included planet number 9, which we have yet to discover. So,
I haven't even heard about that one, man.
oh yeah, well, it's wild. So, okay, let me just tell you then. Let me be the first to tell you that mathematically, it's believed that there's another planet in the solar system beyond Neptune that we haven't discovered, and it's supposed to be massive. It's affecting a number of orbits or it's affecting the orbits of a number of planetary bodies in our solar system, but we can't see it, which is not insane because stuff is very hard to see in space.
Is this relating to the theory that it's being blocked by other planets and the sun and possibly just whatever might be in its path, that because of just eyesight we can't see it? Like,
Yeah,
is that? Yeah.
we can hardly even see Neptune. It's so like there's just not enough light out there. Like stuff is so dim, and we don't really have a lot of instruments to see stuff like that. It's funny, we can see stuff that are many galaxies away easier than we can see stuff in our own backyard. It's kind of terrifying
Wow.
too if you think about the fact that we're overdue for an asteroid impact.
knock on wood.
2020 for the win.
Wouldn't that be a great way to end it?
I think that's
Oh
how it
God.
will end, but that's a different story.
You know, I feel like if we had like a big checkerboard of all the things that we expected to happen in 2020, an asteroid is probably going to make it onto that checkerboard.
Yeah.
Where you just plop off all the things that happen each year and just mark.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
we haven't had the alien invasion yet, but there is a lot of stuff with the Pentagon releasing information about that. How do you feel about this whole thing?
Well, one thing I will comment on really quickly, because you did bring it up, and how my mom felt watching the Planet of the Apes video, or movies, I should say. I think the surreal experience just comes from the lack of technology back then, the lack of, I mean, nowadays, dude, if you want to look up anything on your phone, I can get into specifics and try and be funny or dirty or whatever, but like anything. If you want to learn how to sew or fix a wound that you have that you think might be infected, or if you want to know, hey, I just plucked myself with a rusty needle, should I get a tetanus shot? Like, it's amazing what kind of information we have literally at our fingertips. And going back to my mom, I think just seeing a movie like Planet of the Apes, like even just space travel, that concept was far out to a 70s kid. She was born in 69, so I can only imagine what would kind of be going through people's heads. In my day and age growing up, we had already been to the moon. We were talking about going to Mars around the time that I was a kid. And one day we might have bases on the moon and stuff like that. And we haven't gone back in X amount of years. It's kind of funny how it's all kind of in the pretense, where when she talks about stuff, it's all about in the now. So I don't know. I think there's definitely a lot of just differences, and I think it's an interesting one to kind of touch on. I'm sorry to kind of go back to that topic, but I just kind of wanted to answer that one because yeah, yeah, it's an interesting question, man. Especially questioning your own reality. We what a time to be alive, man.
Well, this is it. This is it. This is it. And like, I feel really sensitive about this because I'm so like dialed into the internet. I see a lot of artificial intelligence, and I question my own existence. I question what's real and what's not. I can't trust anything out there because everything for me is digital. And I see people that are strongly manipulated by technology, and they're manipulated by the fake news that's propagating. And like, you just have to wonder what's real, what's not. You know, because like, here's the thing: at the end of the day, somebody's pulling the strings for the robots. We don't like the robots aren't autonomous yet. They're not conscious yet. So somebody's still pulling the strings on the robots, and I wonder who that is.
It's true, man. And it's kind of funny, even just when you watch Terminator, especially back in the day, how they talk about Skynet having, what was it, 8 in 10 household products are made by Skynet, or is it 6 in 10?
Is that what it was?
Yeah, something
I
like
didn't
that.
know that.
What is it?
I don't know. I can't remember
I
that.
I almost want you to look it up. We need a Jamie.
I
Jamie,
know
look it
we
up.
need a Jamie. It's been said before. Yeah.
But let's just go with the lower, or let's just go with the higher end number. 8 in 10 products are made by Skynet. Think about Amazon, man.
Yeah.
I just ordered a fan off of Amazon. I just ordered a TV off of Amazon. I order all my cables, all my cords, everything that I order, I go to Amazon first. Amazon is literally becoming that one-stop all place for everything. And now we are starting to buy these Amazon Echoes. We are buying these little dots, and it's a listening device in your
Oh,
house
100%.
24/7, you know. And the reason why I got one, and you know, I think this is really important to talk about because people are so scared to own these. You know, people are like, but you're gonna have a camera in your house and you're gonna have a microphone in your house. I'm like, okay, so how many of your family members own cell phones? There's two in this cell phone, microphones, that is. There's two cameras in the front, there's three cameras in the back. Then I have a little tablet, two cameras, two microphones. I've got another phone, five cameras, two microphones. Like, you can't really hide from this stuff.
Yeah. Unless
And
unless you disconnect, really.
to what degree, though? And
Yeah.
how much do you hurt yourself by doing so? How
Well,
many, you know what I mean?
I'll tell you, there's a lot of hippies out here that do it, and they seem okay. 'Cause there is a
Well,
lot that do it here.
well, and for sure. And you know, I definitely don't want to make it in the sense where like we need cell phones, but it's nice to have technology where we don't have to be codependent on other people at all times. If I want to grow my own tomatoes, I can go to the store, buy a pouch of tomato seeds, and then look up, how do I grow tomatoes? And I can start my own garden. You know, I think we live in a pretty amazing time where, you know, we can watch YouTube videos where we can learn almost anything, or, um, you know, we can, I don't want to say her name, but we can ask Alexa, you know, what's the weather like today? And without even looking at a screen, she can tell us what it's like. Just before this podcast, actually, I was turning on and off lights, sitting at my desk, walking around my room, and you were like, I need that in my life. And even right now, Alexa, turn off heater. My heater just turned off. What an amazing world to live in.
You're an alien. You
I
know, I have to say, I have to add on to this though. So like I just moved to a new apartment. The place I was at before was a sublet, and the place that I was at, she had two Google Homes. So basically, wherever I was, I was always connected to Google, and I miss it now. You know, I have nobody to talk to. I'm like, I wake up in the morning and I want to be like, Google, what's the weather like outside? You know, and I say that, nobody answers, and I'm like, well, gee, I miss my digital counterpart, my droid.
well, and I'll tell you this, and it's probably a bad thing, and it definitely is a bad thing, especially when you really think about it. But dude, you could pick up one of those for like 40, 50, $60. I hope you know that. Like, they are extremely cheap, and they're made to be cheap.
Yeah.
Like, oh, 100%. I think it's to that point where they want 6 out of 10 homes, 8 out of 10 homes to own these.
Well, you got to choose your
100%.
poison. You got to choose your poison. And in my opinion, I trust my information with Google more than I would
Mhm.
Amazon.
Interesting. See, I trust my information more with Amazon than with Google.
You know what?
But
You know what freaks me out with Amazon is my involvement with e-commerce. Like I feel like I'm knee deep within the e-commerce technology world, and what I'm seeing coming from the company that I work for right now, I'm seeing like kind of advanced artificial intelligence driven ad networks, and that are incredibly dynamic and autonomous. And I know that Amazon is definitely ahead of the game for this. So like we're going to be to the point where the AI is going to be just talking like in Back to the Future 2. We're just going to walk into an interface. They're going to start talking to us and be like, "Hey, you will really want to buy this. Don't, get the hot special." You remember that from Back to the Future 2?
I don't actually. I
Oh,
never watched those.
okay, well, anyways, they were talking to you. The Marty McFly, he entered the diner, and there are these two AI guys. One is trying to sell him like the roast, and the other is trying to sell him the chicken, or something like that. But
Okay.
anyways, like that's what we could be expecting are these AI personalities soon in our own home, trying to buy stuff. That's the evil of Amazon.
Interesting. I actually was just watching a movie and I can't remember what it is for the life of me. I Of course I'll know what it's called when I go onto Netflix when I end this podcast here. But basically this guy, I don't remember what he's doing, or what, I only watched like 20 minutes of the movie and ended up falling asleep. But he walks up to this robot, and it's his parole officer, and he ends up starting to badmouth this parole officer. And they're like, it's a federal offense to uh, insult your parole officer. And he's like, yes, of course, sir. And it switches over to the next scene or whatever. But it's hilarious how the filmmakers envisioned that it would be a crime to insult or even, just diss or ignore a robot, which is in this world also this man's parole officer, which is it's crazy to think about in today's day and age that role would be filled by a robot. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy just what this world might come to.
Well, yeah, defund the police and replace them with police robots. Give them
Oh god.
firearms. This is a great idea.
Oh,
This
it was
is
RoboCop. It was
RoboCop.
RoboCop.
We're,
It
we're,
was
we're
RoboCop.
going to be having RoboCop 2021. We'll see RoboCop soon. TM.
I'm not even kidding. It's too funny that you bring that up because it was RoboCop,
Yeah.
2017, whatever. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they called that first. So well done, guys. Terminators
tell
and
ya.
RoboCops. This is the future.
I'll tell you, man. Now, I think it's really important to also kind of, bring up, we can limit sentience, and we also don't have to allow sentience. I think it's something that people think is inevitable, or something that a robot might be able to self-gain. And sure, while we might not fully understand, computers and whatnot, I think too many people are kind of sucked into the mindset that if we plug in this to a computer, it can duplicate and replicate itself, and now it's worldwide, and now it's launching our nukes. Like it's kind of amazing how people have kind of just taken even these smaller computer programs, or even Alexa, to being this like world-ending product, which it might inevitably turn into, or we might have the building blocks, but I don't think we're even close to being there. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm kind of
I get what you're coming at. I think it's gonna take a while to get there. I don't think we will like. I don't think we'll be able to say that we'll never have sentience with AI. I think it's inevitable. But I think that I don't know exactly how it would happen, but I would see that it would happen, just gradually over time. They would just have so much sentient capability before it's like 100% fully sentient. But I think that it'll take, a while. But I think when it does happen, well, one or two things could happen. Either it could be done by a company like Google, or it could be done by like Russian hackers. So I guess like whichever evil is at hold of this technology, and after that, I think it'll happen immediately because they operate at a much higher speed than we do, and they'll discover the fundamentals of the universe within microseconds, and then it'll just be over, whatever that is.
and I think that brings a couple of really interesting questions. Is sentience going to be something that we're going to try and prevent, and is it
No,
something that, well,
I don't
but
think
hold
so. It's a
on,
feature.
I've heard a lot of scientists that do not do, even Elon Musk does not want sentience right now. Like, we are not ready for it.
Yeah, but he
We
can't
wouldn't be able
prevent
to
it.
contain it.
Like, okay, look at the
But you could
sophistication.
slow it down, don't you think?
I don't think so. Look at the
No.
sophistication with the Tesla cars, okay, and their autonomous driving. Like the whole thing that they're doing is trying to improve the capabilities of it by adding more features. And actually, there's self-learning technology as well. So the cars are teaching themselves how to drive, and it's just like gradually adding more and more and more features. And then these features they're adding, it's all autonomy. So you're more and more autonomy. They're just stacking it up on top. And I think this is what the sentience really is a highly sophisticated autonomous technology.
Hmm. That's actually a really interesting point of view. Do we just kind of walk into sentience?
Naturally, yeah. That's what I mean. I think it's
Huh.
inevitable. And
Huh.
a lot of the reason why I think this too is because of the Falcon 9 rockets. The fact that they could land on this barge in the middle of the Atlantic. And I mean, this is the tier zero of this technology. Obviously, with the Starship, this is the next generation of this technology, and it's quite sophisticated. And then there's going to be more after that. And like just the amount of autonomy that's involved in flying a rocket like that, It defines our understanding of physics. To be honest, like you go back 40 years ago, they said that would have been impossible.
Well, and definitely not to get anywhere into the topic of the Nazis or Hitler or anything like that. But you go back 80 years, and they were literally the first ones inventing rockets. Like we didn't have rockets 100 years ago, and look where we are now. We can land a rocket from space on a barge in the middle of the like. It's crazy when we actually start just thinking about 100 years ago there weren't satellites in space. 100 years ago we didn't have cell phones, or it's crazy to think about what we're gonna see at the end of our lives, Segellion.
Well,
and I
your
and I
life,
think
you're in a different generation to me. And you know what? One thing that I would say about
it's true.
you kicking yourself in the back for being too born too early or too late or whatever it is that
Mhm.
your generation is the first cyborgs, okay? Like fully cyborg. Because my generation, we're still like old school dial up, but your generation, fully cyborg. And I feel like you guys are superhuman and I'm not. I'm actually like an less able, less capable of a human being than your generation is. So I think that's pretty cool. I wish I was in your generation.
Interesting point of view. um and the one thing that I'll bring up is, I really just wish I've had more time. I think that's kind of what I always just kind of break it down to. My parents knew each other for almost 4 years before they had me, and they were dating and getting married and stuff like that for almost 4 years before they had me. And I kind of feel like it's lost time. I imagine myself as a 27-year-old man instead of a 23-year-old man, or I imagine myself as a 25-year-old man instead of a 23-year-old man. And I imagine just having those couple of extra years, but being alive today. What I would have done maybe with Bitcoin, what I maybe would have, you know what I mean? What I
Hey,
maybe would have done with just so many things in my life. And, I think age is definitely an interesting thing. It's something that we can never change. It's something that we can never control. But boy, does it impact our lives.
totally. But you know what? I am of the age where I should have bought into Bitcoin and I didn't. So just because you were born there doesn't mean that you would have necessarily qualified. So yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
hindsight
Yeah.
is 2020.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Very true, man. You can look at almost any fight you've ever had with a person. You can look at almost any situation you've ever been in, and hindsight will always be 2020. That is so true, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
do you remember when a socialist, a capitalist, a feminist, and an anarchist shared a Minecraft server together?
Yes. Literally one of the most unbelievable tales. I think it's a good one, man.
The only problem with it is it's like it's too
Wait,
predict.
which one was I again?
You're the anarchist because you were trolling the feminist and the capitalist at the same time.
I'm laughing way too hard.
It's so true though. Like I was like, "Stop talking, Tonk," and you kept going.
I just like watching things burn. I don't know, man.
That's just
you
the way
know,
it is.
well, the thing is too, like it's Minecraft, right? Like I think it was something where, like, even when it came to just the fundamentals of just server rules, I didn't really care. Like to me, Minecraft is and always will be, and this upsets people, and I think it's um, kind of a bitter truth. But I always kind of seen it more of a kid to teenager game. I kind of see it as like a young person game that once you start setting rules, once you start limiting creativity, that's when it's no longer Minecraft. Minecraft is all about no limits. And that's when adults can really appreciate it, when you can build these intricate houses and make it not a kid game. When you can use mods to make it into like a Halo retro spin-off, and you can build stuff from other universes in Minecraft. That's when you make it an adult hobby, an adult interest. I think when you start putting a lot of those limitations, when you start saying, you can do this, you can't do this, you can do this, you can't do this, and you start setting all these confines, it kills the fun in a game like Minecraft for me, because I know I can do anything, but I'm being told by somebody that I can't. And I don't know. I think that's just kind of the weird reality of Minecraft, and I think that's why I ran my mouse so much. I don't think I did it maliciously. I'm not a malicious person. I hope we've been able to unravel that in these 2 hours. But I definitely, I think, got a little stressed, and I think I definitely went through different feelings and went through different emotions playing on that server, and I think it was an interesting learning experience. I love the way you rationalize it too: an anarchist, a communist, a capitalist, and a
Socialist.
feminist. A
Socialist.
socialist. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Jeez Louise.
I mean, you're calling me an anarchist here, so like,
But it's
I'll just
true. We're talking about burning things. That's what an anarchist does. I haven't identified as a communist yet, so
okay. Oh,
I stick with the socialism.
okay.
Yeah. I
Fair
was
point. And I think that is a good point to kind of clarify too, because like there is a massive difference between socialism and
totally. I was sitting there and I was like, "Can't we all get along?" Nope.
it's well we did, and we ended up all kissing up and getting along at the end.
And
It
then
never.
never saw one another ever again.
That's not true.
What are you
I
talking
talk.
about? We didn't see any of them after that. That was
I
it.
still talk with Banner. I still talk with you. Me and Hannah are still on good terms,
Yeah?
man.
Okay.
Oh
Well,
yeah. I mean, I think more so we just have never used that server again. The thing is I think once, it's kind of like when you're in an orgy group, it can last a long time and it can be really good, but if one bad thing happens, it can ruin the whole experience, and then nobody wants to be a part of that orgy anymore. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
I get you. Yeah. I get you.
But yeah, I don't know. I also think we all got kind of burnt out on Minecraft too.
No, I didn't. No, not me. I was the only one. I was just like, I just want to play with everybody. I want to have a good time. And yeah,
Yeah.
then it shut down and again, I lost all my crap.
Well, it got real, right? I think that's the sad part is, it just kind of got too real.
I'm always in a search of a Minecraft server though, for sure.
I still have mine up, man. I still gotta start.
No, I tried to connect to it like a week ago.
Oh, it shuts off all the time because nobody logs into it. I'm paying $50 a month and I never log on to
Mm.
it. It's still up. I just have to keep turning it on every 3 days because it turns off automatically to save resources. Uh, I spend my money wisely.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to let you know that I developed appreciation for religion after watching Battlestar Galactica. Just wanted to let you know about that.
you know, did you watch Caprica?
Yeah, I did. I didn't watch all of it though. I think I got like half or three-quarters of the way through it, and I'm just lost interest.
That's literally when it got good.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. You can almost call it 2 seasons in one, because it's 19 episodes, 42 minutes each. I really consider it, possibly even 3 or 4 seasons. Um, you know, there's so much that just goes on in the first episode, which is a double episode. So it's an hour and 40-minute episode that, yeah, and I think Battlestar actually has kind of given me a lot of appreciation and understanding for religion. It's kind of interesting how monotheism is described, and how toxic it is seen, and just what it entails and what it means to just different people in that in that series, in real life, in just everything. And
And how
you know,
it's like also a part of the fabric of humanity.
yes, yeah. Oh, 100%. You know, like they do a great point in touching on how monotheism, where it's the soldiers of the one, it's the um, radical religion in Caprica, they do suicide bombings, they do suicide
Yeah,
attacks,
yeah, I remember
where,
that.
yeah, it's actually a very powerful statement when people actually kind of think about it and break it down. And it actually only gets more and more radical. I won't spoil it for you because I really think you should kind of just watch those last couple of episodes because it gets really intricate with that terrorist cell. It's kind of interesting how they even test and just do different things with their so-called followers, you know, with these kids. And it's just it's an interesting show, and I think it really could have done good if it had another season because they even kind of teased what they wanted to do on a second season. It was going to be 5 years ahead, so like all the characters that were kids were actually going to be adults so that they could actually have like a pretty decent show. And it just it felt like it was a missed opportunity, and especially for Battlestar, you know, I feel like they always should have kind of talked more about the religion stuff a lot earlier on because they get really deep into it in like season 5 and season 6. Especially, I'm not sure if you've watched the complete series of Battlestar, but like with Starbuck going on her whole like experience, journey, whatever you want to call it. Um, it really actually was a really well made show. And yeah, it's crazy looking back at just some of the episodes and some of the, you know, highlights of that show where they really pushed boundaries for the years that it was made. And yeah, I don't think like even my brother's generation, you know, you brought this up earlier, I don't think they'll understand it. You're right. You know, even just the displays, I think there's going to be so much stuff that needs to be explained that it's just not going to be interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, it's going to be an interesting generation. Those guys. I don't know if they're just going to be. I kind of think the video games are going to take over. I think that we're going to go away with television and all that, and we'll just have video games as our entertainment provider because we have
Hmm.
to have things delivered to us on a silver platter, or at least oncoming generations need that. I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Did you ever watch Sword Art Online by
Oh
chance?
yeah, it's actually funny. Yeah, I love Sword Art Online. He stole my character, by the way. I had that character first, but I watched Hack Sign, and Hack Sign predated Sword Art Online. It came out, I think, in 1999,
Hmm.
and a lot of the same creators and voice actors and music composers, they went to Sword Art Online after Hack Sign. So same theme, same thing. It's we live in a virtual world and so on and so forth. I love it, man. It's great.
Hmm. I actually haven't heard of that one.
Yeah,
Um,
it's better than
but
Sword Art Online, in my opinion. It's wild. Yeah, it's a real acid trip. So
wow, I'll definitely have to watch that because I'll admit, Sword Art Online, they kind of lost me with the whole Kirito and what's her name? Uh, it's funny how I can always remember it, but whenever you're on the spot, you can never remember it. Asuna or something. I think it's Asuna. Anyways, you know, it's funny kind of just thinking about how they made that universe, and this is the reason that I brought it up. You know, those pods that they go into,
yeah,
and just how they enter that world. You know, if you watch some of those earlier episodes and in those scenes, that is really their only source of entertainment besides books.
yeah,
Now, of course, that is, you know, the culture in Japan. They don't have many hobbies. You know, they mainly focus on their life, their career. You know, so books are their hobbies. But still, I thought it was kind of interesting how like that was like 50% of your bedroom. Like that was like a massive part of their lives. It was in their bedroom to that extent. You know, I think it's interesting just how it's all perceived, how they think the world is going to change and what we're actually moving to, you know, for
Yeah,
sure.
I think we're definitely moving to that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just the natural way, and
Hmm.
I guess I have a bias on that because I've been fantasizing about the hack sign world forever. Uh, it's so crazy
Hmm.
because they redid the hack sign world in Second Life, and Second Life can provide a really good emulator of of a place like that because hack sign was really simple. But one thing that they articulated very well in hack sign was just loneliness. I don't think Online really nailed that. Online was like, oh, look at all the friends you have, look at how busy it is. But Hack Sign, just the way the technology worked, like you're alone a lot of the time with the NPCs, and it was really weird. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm sure Star Citizen will be like that too. I bet. I bet we'll be alone in space a lot.
But do you think we'll appreciate that more than we'll despise it? Do you think it'll kind of be a good thing? Because it's funny, I've kind of looked at New Babbage, and I kind of want everybody to kind of imagine this. You know, imagine you getting on that elevator with six people every time you get on that elevator to go down to the trains to get into that main commerce room. Imagine every time you go to a bar. Imagine every time you go to that dance club. Imagine every time you walk down every hallway, there's five, six, 10 people around you. You know, even trying to imagine it kind of being like an MMO like RuneScape or World of Warcraft. Trying to imagine, you know, all of those players just simultaneously trying to be together and going back to the topic of, is this the game that people are really going to love someday? You know, is that what people are kind of expecting? You know,
Yeah,
because
that's what it boils down to. What are people expecting? Because I think a lot of people
yeah,
come over from, like you said, Fortnite or Call of Duty, and they're ready to get into the tournament environment and start pew pewing. But it's like
bang bang, let's go.
this is
Yeah.
an MMO. You know, you gotta. There's traders here. There's tailorers. There's people who are dancing in the bars. Like there are every wake of life here. So it's slow. It's persistent,
Well,
and maybe
well,
most of the
and here's a
NPCs.
fun one. Here's a fun one. You know, imagine you know, you log on one day, you know, you play on a regular basis with a couple of buddies, and you're like, hey, you know, guys, let's go to that nice space station that's above New Babbage, and just sit there, have a drink, and we'll talk about the org. Okay, how's that sound? And you guys, you know, stand there at like a corner window, and it's like rotating around or whatever. And just imagine some random player walks up to you and just starts swearing or starts saying whatever, you know, immersion breaking stuff. It would almost be like a real life bar
Totally.
where like it's crazy to think about how, especially with FOIP and VoIP, you know, when you look at Eve, I just I can't make comparisons, but I have to, in the sense that it's amazing what actually having first person, what actually having a character, what actually having lips, what actually
Mm.
has, you know, what all that actually has to do with having an you know, an impact, a meaningful experience, fidelity, immersion. You know, it's amazing how much just that can mean to a person. Like for me, it's game breaking. I cannot play Eve without that stuff.
Yeah. Nobody
I don't
should.
want to. I don't want to.
Yeah,
You
it's a
know.
spreadsheet game without that stuff.
Yeah. 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 It's an interesting. It's an interesting world to kind of just dive into. It's insane just how far we've come. You know, just being able to talk to each other in game in its tier one implementation, or tier zero, I guess it is. It's just, it's so surreal having a friend walk up to you and be like, hey dude, how's it going? And you're just like, whoa,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Did I ever tell you the story about when I was shot in the caterpillar and I could see the guy's eyes, like through the FOIP system? I could see the human in the character, and it was the weirdest experience. I'll never forget it.
No.
Yeah.
So what, like you saw his like shock, like,
I saw the expressions on his face when he pulled the trigger.
oh,
Yeah. It was a FOIP. The FOIP system was running at the time. So he was
Wow.
like he went up to me, he put the gun to my head, and he said, "Give me the caterpillar, give me the cargo in it." And I'm like, "Hey man, it's empty. I got nothing. You know, basically screw off, right?" But
Yeah.
he didn't have that, so he shot me in the head instead, and I watched him do it through the first person perspective. That was a surreal experience, man. And I said this to Dad Lando. I think it was the same week when I had Dad Lando on the show. And I was like, when does it become immoral to shoot another person? You know, when you're looking at them in the eye, when is it a bad thing?
Right. Well, it's funny, I've met a lot of people that just literally cannot kill dogs in games. All females, but
Yeah.
still,
I,
I
I know people that are the same way.
yeah. So, it'll be kind of interesting just seeing if there's any people that just morally have it in them where it's like, well, I know this guy is going to have consequences. If I kill him, this is way worse than if I
Totally.
just subdued him, if I just handcuffed him. I have this taser option where I can shoot a dart in his neck. He won't even know I'm there. He'll black out. He'll wake up. Cool. I think it'll be kind of interesting seeing if there is a moral compass.
I
It's an
can't
interesting one.
I can't do it. I vividly remember a moment where I could have shot a player and I didn't do it. And it's like that was the last moment I think I really like raised arms against another player. It was in a turret and he was flying around and I'm like, "Oh, this is fun. We're in turrets. We're pew-pewing one another." And I'm like, I just had him in my sights and he was like locked on and I'm like, "I can't do this." And
Really?
I won't do it now. Like I won't forget that because it's like I was thinking about it. And I'm like, what are the repercussions? Like, how is this like I'm actually inflicting pain on another human being by doing this? You know, it might be just something through a game, but either way, there's anxiety or there's uh, maybe revenge or you know just negative feelings. I'm giving negative feelings to another human. I don't want to do that.
Well, it's interesting too, and well, it's funny because like whenever I have friends flying around, man, I fixate my guns right on them. Like I find it fun to just
Most people do.
I will, and I use it kind of as a training resource. I almost pretend that I'm taking a shot every now and again, so that like I have to pretend that like I'm lining up a shot. It helps a lot with your actual precision. Like when you're actually playing FPS games, like it's amazing. When I play Valorant, it's kind of crazy how many headshots I can pull off some nights just by doing a little bit of practice. When you feel like you have your skills all lined up and everything's in whatever tip top motion, it's kind of crazy how everything can kind of feel more fluid just by practicing and that stuff. But the one thing that I'll kind of bring up and what I kind of find interesting about just not being able to aim at other players, Segellion, I think that's kind of an interesting you know tell about just what kind of player you want to be. You are a born and bred trader. I think that's kind of amazing. I've always known you as a caterpillar player. I think
Pilot,
that's pretty cool, man.
pilot, caterpillar
Pilot.
pilot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not playing a game. You think I'm playing games here? What made you think I'm playing games? What did I say? Yeah. Clearly you're smoking something you shouldn't have been smoking.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? Yeah. Crazy though. Yeah. I consider myself such a jack of all trades, man. I want to do it all.
you
I
gotta
want to.
you gotta be that way though right now. Like you don't want to get fixated on a specific thing because it's gonna change. You don't want to get any attachments that'll burn you. So do
Mm,
jack of all trades.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just do it because I find it fun though. I like the idea of having to hunt down a player for, bounty hunting. I like the idea of having pirates come after me and having to actually just mercilessly kill them because I'm in a way better ship. I like the idea of just so many concepts in Star Citizen that just make it just what it is. It's the experience I have constantly called and will always call 16 games in one.
Hmm. Yeah.
It is not one game.
I think there's gonna be more than 16 games.
Probably. But
Yeah.
I think that's a good number that you can kind of say to people and they can rationalize and just be like, whoa, 16. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I could think of one or two, but like, whoa, 16? Like, that's that's a lot of comparisons. Like you can kind of say like Halo is kind of like Call of Duty mixed with like Dead Space or something. Like it's a sci-fi FPS game. Like you can kind of like draw comparisons. Like Minecraft's kind of like a builder, or like Roblox is kind of like Minecraft mixed with like GTA, or like it's kind of like a bunch of things mixed. But when you try and rationalize Star Citizen, you got to go on kind of a rant. You kind of got to say, well, it's like this because of this. 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 You know, it's kind of like Eve. It's not. It's kind of like Halo, but it's not. It's got this aspect that's different from this, and it's this, and I think it's I've just always loved that, you know, being able to call it 16 games in one. I don't know why I fixate on that number. But yeah, it's just it's so many different things in just one package. You know, it's a single player game, it's an MMO, you know? It's crazy.
Speaking of package, uh, tell me about the race that you're organizing right now.
Ah, yes, the one that we're organizing,
Yes,
man.
yes.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I'm definitely pretty excited, man. It's I think we've talked about this. Other people have tried this concept, but we're going to try an interesting little.
You don't have to be
Uh,
the first person. You don't.
well, no, and I think you made an excellent point on that. You know, it's not about being the first. It's about doing something that's fun and getting people involved. And I think it's I think it's just awesome that we're even just doing it. You know, so just to kind of give an overview and just kind of explain it to people, what we're doing is we're doing a ballista race. I'm not sure about the exact length. All of those details we'll have on Segellion's amazing site here. But and this is normally where in this box right here we would have the link to the website. But we'll leave that to Segellion in the post. But either way, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a race. The length, etc., is all kind of going to be determined at a later point here. But the idea is we want to have one person in each ballista, and we want to have the ability where if people decide to, they can start moving into the other seat and shooting missiles at other players. Will those players all be in ballistas? We don't know. We might kind of throw some curveballs. We might have some ideas, some interesting stuff come up. We're working with some ideas, and I think it's going to be a really excellent test bed for some other races that we have coming up as well. So definitely stay tuned for that. Definitely keep your eyes open for more information on that. Sorry about the dog there, guys. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting ballista race. I believe that's on the 14th of September, right, Segellion?
13th, I believe.
13th.
13th. And you're going to be doing a test run for it this Sunday for your stream.
That's right.
You said that you're doing a new stream schedule. So I was wondering, I guess, are you going to be doing some of those race events on your stream?
Hopefully. So it's kind of going to help to have like a general idea of just what we want to do, where we want to go. So I think it'll be good just to kind of record a couple of maybe videos, take a couple of screenshots. It'll also kind of be a good way to just kind of tell people about it, show people what we're doing, how we're hosting the event, where it's going to take place, because it would kind of suck if on the day of the race people think it's on Daymar instead of it being on the planet on which is Hurston. It's going to be an interesting time, and I definitely want it to all kind of fit together like a puzzle piece. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, but I want it to be kind of special. I think we'll achieve both of those things. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I would like to wrap it up there. Is there any other icing on the cake that we should talk about we haven't talked about yet?
I love it, man. I think we talked on a lot of just really interesting things, and I think it was good because I'm the kind of person that overworks too much stuff in their head. So like I thought of about 50 or 60 things over the past week that I wanted to bring up or that
Mm.
I wanted to ask you.
What do we do?
Well, but here's the thing. So I didn't write down any of them because, well, but because you told me, that's my problem. Like, I'm going to worry about interviewing you.
Yeah.
I want to ask the questions. So I didn't want to turn it into like the Uno reverse card where I just, vented to you or asked you and got you to talk the whole time. So I think it was good, man. I think you talked on a lot of things that I wanted to kind of touch on. And, I think the biggest one that I really wanted to talk about was the gray market. So
Mm.
yeah, I think that was good, man. And I really appreciate you just even having me on. I appreciate you just, spending the time with me, chatting with me. It's awesome, man. You know this anyways, but I love spending time with you, Segellion. But, I think it's kind of surreal just being able to spend this time on a podcast with you, kind of, explain, just my own side of the story on what I think of certain game mechanics or just different things. And yeah, I think it's awesome, man. So I thank you for the opportunity, and I thank you for having me on, man.
Thank you. Thank you. What was it about the gray market that you absolutely had to talk about?
Honestly, just kind of, I wouldn't even call it a stigma, but I've kind of seen a lot of different perspectives on it where I feel, I guess it is a stigma, where it's really misunderstood. And I think it's good to just kind of even me, like I have been a closet gray market salesman for so long. I have made it a point, and I have specifically told people, like, don't ask me for ships on my stream. Like, please, like, don't come into my chat and ask me, hey man, do you got an 890 jump for sale? Like, like I kind of consider it a taboo topic. And, I think it's really important that, especially because I'm not out there trying to make a profit, I'm I literally do it because I farmed 5 flyable 890 jumps, 4 master set endeavors, and a bunch of other things because I knew that those are only for sale for a couple of days, and I have friends and I know people that want those out of season. I know so many people, and I have gotten messages from so many friends that are like, yeah, I would love to buy an 890 jump right now, but it's not in the store. And it's like, well, I know a great way to help support Star Citizen. I can give them $950. It's still money. Like I don't really understand the stigma unless people are making a profit. And in most cases, I actually lose money. I do it purely to not only support CIG, to give them, for example, when you sell an 890 jump, to give them the $950, but to make that person's day. If they want that ship, they are going to find it one way or another. They are going to go message support. They will go on eBay. They will go on some other site and they will buy it. They will, end up spending it on some other game or doing something else. And that's fine too, but I'm kind of the mindset where it's like if they really want to buy it, if they really want to support the game, and I have the opportunity to help them without any ill intentions, without trying to make a profit, and I know I can make sure that this person also doesn't get scammed, it just, all of these incentives and all these reasons just kind of build where I think it's important to not only support, but just to kind of tell people, like, hey, you know, my friend really wants an Endeavor right now, but it's a limited ship. But I own like 20 buybacks from the Constellation Aquila to the Endeavor. So I can give him one. I think it's good that people just kind of know that, like, these little buyback tokens, these little upgrades that people acquire, they can really make somebody happy. And, example of this was the Carrick. I had a buddy who I won't name just because, but he really wanted a Carrick, but he's like $600. He's like, shit, I was looking at that when it was like 450, and I thought that was too much. And I was like, dude, what if I told you I could give you a carrot for 450 right now? He's like, really? He's like, but I don't have 450 in my account, man. I could melt some of my ships. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm like, melt your ships, buy a buy a Aurora ES, upgrade it to a Argo Mole, send it to me. I'll pay the difference and we'll send you a Carrack. And he's like, really, dude? I'm like, I bought the upgrades for $25 each back in the day from the Reclaimer. I'm like, it's nothing. I'm like, I'm literally buying the ship for you $150 cheaper or whatever it is, $100 cheaper. I don't know. Because it ended up I sold him a couple of CCUs because he needed to chain it. But I think it's absolutely amazing because he's like, that's my daily flyer now. He's like, at $600, that's a lot of money. But he's like, thank you for helping me get that. I'm like, it's kind of crazy, but it's a 25% difference, and it means nothing to Cloud Imperium games. I know some people think that, whatever they've pledged means a lot, and it does, but people have to kind of remember there are people that literally buy Legatus packages all the time. On a daily basis, we're getting $50,000 invested into this project without sales. It's a drop in the bucket for somebody like me or for you or for Segellion to save $50 when, it's just a pride thing because people don't want to go through the gray market or whatever. The way I still did it, CIG still got their money. It's I don't know. I think it's just really stigmatized in the wrong way. And I've actually talked with a lot of people. I actually knew one guy that was like, dude, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I think you are absolutely running a scam on this gray market stuff. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what? I'm like, but I'm not, right? And he's like, yeah, but like I've seen stuff like this, man. He's like, it's too lucrative. He's like, there's too many exploits. And I'm like, but dude, that's why I'm involved in it. I'm like, because there are too many lucrative people. There are too many people that take advantage of it. That's why I try and care. That's I don't know. I think it's got a really bad rap, Segellion. And for an extremely, extremely long answer, that's what I'll leave you on, man. I think, like I'm the master of long answers, but I think it's just got a really bad rap. And if somebody wants an 890 jump, I hate to say it, but not a lot's going to stop them. If somebody's made up their mind and they want to spend $1,000 on a digital game, they're going to do it. And I'll leave on that note. I can't really justify it any other way. People are going to spend their money on what they want to spend it on.
That's true. Sounds good. When is your next stream? Time and day.
Sunday, 4 p.m. EST.
Sunday.
Or MDT. MDT. Sorry.
Sunday, 4 p.m.
MDT.
MDT, Mountain Daylight Time Center. No, next to the center. Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, Mr. TonkGuy. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody else who watched the stream today. I will have this up on YouTube, and I'll have good stuff on there. Next week, we're going to have Redlear on, so that'll be exciting, too. So check that out. And I guess that's it. So thanks again, guys. Peace.
Take care. And thanks again for having me, Segellion.